Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Sree's daily COVID-19 call, a global online conversation around various aspects of the current crisis. I'm hunkered down in New York. It's day number 18. It feels like day 88. I want to know how you're feeling, what you're up to. We're live right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. On any of those platforms, please comment and we'll read your comments out loud. Tell us what you're doing, how you're feeling. This is a Monday, though it could be any other day. It's been hard for me to keep track, as I'm sure it has for many of you. So please post in the comment section. Tell us how you're doing. Tell us what you're doing. And thank you for joining us. It's 7-ish a.m., 7-ish p.m. In New York, and we have guests who are not just in New York, but we also have guests joining us from other places, including online. And we're just glad that people are here. Eman says she's okay, but I feel like I'm wasting away. She's in Chicago. And others, please come in and tell us how you're feeling and what you're doing. My name is Sreenivasan, and I am the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at the Stony Brook School of Journalism, and I'm a digital media consultant, and I am spending my days getting ready for the start of Stony Brook's second half of the first semester. They took a 2-week spring break, which was very helpful for all of us to get ready, and that starts tomorrow. And then I'm also working on things like this and working with my clients. I am feeling very nervous about the news as I watch it, and so part of the reason we're doing these webcasts and these daily conversations is so that we can talk beyond the news, and also to understand things that are being ignored because of the news. And we want this to be very informal, very relaxed, give you a chance to ask as many questions as possible. On Sunday night, we do our weekly positivity episode, and we had a child science in. You can go into the archives and find it and talk and watch the session we did with Dr. Pamela Cantor of Turnaround for Children. She gave us so much good advice for both adults and children that they're absolutely worth watching. I hope you will. And we also have spent the last week talking to people in all kinds of with all kinds of backgrounds and expertise. And then we're trying on Mondays to talk about economic hardship and the issues that are being caused and exaggerated and made even worse by the current crisis. So let me just show you where people are coming in from. Steve's watching from Philly. Hi. Lauren's watching from Metro Boston. Carla's watching from New Jersey. Everything is illegal in New Jersey except congregating in groups. There's a Hamilton joke for you. And Carla's the former copy chief of the New York Times and a great friend of the show and everything we do. Also, I'm not watching the national news and focusing on local news, also reading the newspaper. What a great idea, Iman out in Chicago. Patricia says she's doing fine, isolating here in Union Square area of New York City. And our friend Diana is watching from the San Francisco Bay Area. We're so grateful to her and everyone who is involved in the healthcare system. She's part of the San Mateo County health system and doing such incredible work under greatly difficult circumstances for the communications part. But we salute all doctors and nurses and health aid workers and grocery store clerks and first responders and newspaper delivery people who are all making life possible in America today. Our friend Doug Levy is here. He's going to be doing a show with me on Wednesday about life in the other cities and other states. And he's watching from San Francisco. His Twitter handle is SFDoug. Do follow him. He's written a book about the coronavirus and communicating in it already. It's been out for 10 days. How about that? At SFDoug, and maybe he'll post more information about that. And Rose says hello to Carla. So they're making those connections. I hope you all will too. And Rose Horowitz is also tweeting at Rose Horowitz 31, and she's using the hashtag COVID call, Sree COVID call 19, Sree COVID call 19. And Doug says, Bay Area health departments have done a great job, she says. And Joe is watching from Georgia. Thank you, Joe. You've been very kind to us and said very nice things about this show, but we do it for you and for everybody who's watching. So let me bring on our guests who are going to help us look and think about the issue of economic hardship in this moment. So if you're watching, if you're feeling the pinch, tell us. If you have ideas for how to avoid the pinch, tell us. And it's more than just a pinch for many people. But here we go. We're going to bring them all on. Look at that. What a great looking crew. I'm going to have each of them say hello and introduce themselves. And we're going to start with Ellen right there in Seattle. Hi, Ellen.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm an artist, author, cartoonist, mental health advocate here in Seattle that we were just talking about used to be the epicenter of the coronavirus. And we've handed that mantle over to my very best in New York.
Thank you, and we need it. And you're wearing purple for our show. We like that. It matches the show color. There you go. We also have David Wallis here from the Economic Hardship Reporting Project. Hi, David.
How are you, Sree? Always nice to see you.
Thank you, and you've been a great source of information, inspiration, and a little anger at this moment. And
I have a lot of anger, Sree. I'll share it tonight with you all.
Yeah, and we need some of that. There are two things I think we need some of. We need some laughter, because if we don't laugh, we'll be crying. And if we don't get angry, then we're not paying attention. And you've helped us pay attention. So thank you for coming. We also have Joseph Rodriguez here. Joe, will you wave, please? And Joe is on Instagram as Raleigh6x6. And he's on Instagram, and we're delighted to have him. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. We've had a couple of, personal issues. We've had about Mount Sinai Hospital last week dealing with some surgery, but that all turned out to be for the better. But in real time, I was actually part of the news in a way that I got to see our most amazing healthcare workers, because they were preparing for Armageddon on the 16th. That was the last sort of operation that could actually, because after that, they just shut the doors, as we all know. But one thing I'd love to share with the audience is just this one sheer sense. After the operation, you have to, it had to deal with an issue of not to be graphic, about my plumbing. So the bladder needed to sort of do its thing. And so I had to walk around. The nurses had me walking around the ward, and this is one of the most fantastic experiences of my life. I was really knocked out, right, as anybody could be. I was in that hospital for 12 hours. So about 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking around, and the nurses picked up a paper, and they said, "Oh, first lap," and then keep going, second lap. So they did this 20 times, and they had all their own stress. They had to go home to their own single parents, these nurses, and dealing with us and taking care of us with all of the issues that we're all aware of, the safety issues for them and everything, and just giving. And that's always where I kind of thought about my own photojournalism. It's about us and about we as a humanity. So it was a real human moment in real time for a good full day. And then everything turned out to be on the positive side. So we're still standing, but we picked up COVID this weekend. So, but we got mild symptoms. So we're here for the last 14 days, and but we're okay. So there's no need to be freaking out, folks. The kind of things that can happen with COVID is we can get it and still function in our lives. Yes, it's in isolation. That's it. So with that said, I'm just honored to be here with you tonight to hear what's going on with our audience and our great guest here, David, Alissa, and they've been supporting us for quite some time, and God bless them for what they do.
Thank you. And Joe, you didn't lead with the fact that you have mild symptoms of COVID, so I presume you've not been tested, and so many people are in that same situation. Bill Ritter, the most influential local anchorman in New York, has just announced in the last day or so that he has mild symptoms. He hasn't been tested, and he's self-isolating. And we wish him, and we wish you and everybody who is suffering in any way from this crisis the very best of health. And this is the situation we're in now. We're also joined by Alissa Quart. Alissa, please wave. And Alissa is also with the Economic Hardship Reporting Project. And how are you doing, Alissa?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm talking to a lot of people who aren't fine, though. I feel like that's been the sort of or are doing sort of inventive activities around to coronavirus. There's one of our writers, Armin Henderson, has been giving tests to homeless coronavirus tests down in Miami. And so he's a medical doctor, but he's doing this on a volunteer basis, kind of in a guerrilla attempt to help the homeless be diagnosed down there. So there are people in our purview at EHRP, which is the organization that Dave and I are in, that are doing really remarkable things, that are kind of fighting the isolation or self-isolating and doing imaginative things within that. You know, we're talking to photographers who are taking photos from bus windows and to demonstrate silent streets, but also the struggles of the bus drivers. I feel like I'm really interested to see what Ellen and Joe say, because how do you come up with a visual language for something that's unseen? I think that's one of the perils, actually, of shooting poverty in general, right? Like, how do you represent it? And this is, how do you represent the intersection of poverty and illness, which is often, again, like cell. Like, how do you show that, and not in the usual pictures of like the gurney, but so I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about it.
Sure. Before we do that, I'm going to have David, come on, David, and just have him tell us a little bit about EHRP itself and what it does and the project and why it exists and what you're doing at the moment.
The Economic Hardship Reporting Project was founded by Barbara Ehrenreich in 2012, and we fund journalism about inequality and poverty in America. But we we believe that what we do is we use top artists and great filmmakers and geniuses like Joe Rodriguez and Ellen Forney to also provide beauty.
Yeah, there's Joe.
When we are dealing with a topic that's admittedly difficult and given short shrift by the media often. So we give grants to journalists in every different type of genre, and then we place the article or the video or the cartoon or the photo with a significant publisher or media outlet.
And so people can apply for these grants. Can you just talk about how that works, where they can get information, and also how people can support you as you support these artists?
You can go to economichardship.org/submissions to find out more about our submission process. It's admittedly informal. We give out grants on a rolling schedule. They range anywhere from $500 for an op-ed to $15,000 for a feature documentary. And somewhere in between. And hopefully these grants are. I often say that they're like putting Band-Aids on gushing wounds, but they're still Band-Aids. And so they're helping a lot of people out. And we're getting an unprecedented amount of inquiries during this time. And if you want to support what EHRP does, we're a nonprofit. You can go to our website at economichardship.org and go to the donate button, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, we're showing the donate button so
yeah,
that people can do that. Folks, if you're watching right now, we're going to have a very important conversation around poverty, about economic issues, and inequality in this country. And if you are suffering right now, talk to us. Write in on Facebook, on Twitter, on any of the platforms, and we want to hear your stories. And we're now going to have each of our writers, our guests, share what they're working on, and especially what the projects that both Joe and Ellen have done for EHRP, the Economic Hardship Reporting Project. So let's start with Ellen, and maybe you can talk us through how you were thinking of dealing, practicing your art at this time, and your work as a cartoonist and an artist.
Well, so as a freelancer, independent contractor, I'm in that category of gig workers. But as my own boss, I like sick time was never an issue or paid leave. So I saw basically almost one by one, almost all of the sources of income for the beginning of the year, and now getting farther and farther into the year and either get rescheduled or disappear. So, and I know that I'm one of many that are in that position of just not knowing where our income is going to be coming from. And so and also one of many who I have a real lack of focus. I mean, it's just been so hard. It's just been so hard to focus and actually get anything done. What I pitched to David and Alissa was what I found that hand washing. So really the things that most of us can do if we're not healthcare workers, you know, completely working overtime and trying to get equipment, is to isolate ourselves or social distancing and washing our hands. I was looking up stuff about washing our hands, and the most thorough way, the World Health Organization way, has a number of different steps. And we're familiar with those now. We've seen a number of them because of the way that people were putting different kinds of music to them. So this was published in the Washington Post. But apparently these aren't used, these aren't really taught because people were having such a hard time remembering them. Even doctors were having a hard time remembering them. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to take that on as a challenge. I can figure that out. And also, Sree, what you were just saying about needing laughter, taking something that's really dry and clinical, and especially in a situation that everybody is so stressed out, taking something and making it kind of funny allows it to be accessible and kind of brings people in. So a number of people have told me that they've started washing their hands a lot better because of this.
I absolutely follow your every time I wash my hands now, I go like this. The G.I. Joe for kids in the 70s, you should go to that, Sree, if you can.
Well, why don't we have her narrate these? Just tell us what.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, and now I do this every time too. So I put names to all of these different ones. So this is the snickering villain, and then the spiders. So spiders on piggyback, and then the spiders. I'm going to do this right. Spiders kissing. So spiders, and then the kung fu grip. So the kung fu grip was from a G.I. Joe, like mid-70s only, I think, but I don't know. You have the retro aspect of it. Maybe that's enough. So there's kung fu grip, and then the motorcycle throttle this way, and then the mortar and pestle. And the way to remember them here, I'm a cartoonist, I'm a storyteller, I'm an author, and the way that the humans make sense of things and remember things is with a story. Often is with a story. And so the story that I created is the villain gets angry at the spiders who are having fun and they're piggybacking and kissing, and so picks a kung fu fight and loses, flees on a motorcycle, and the spiders go and celebrate with a nice dinner at a restaurant that uses freshly ground spices.
I love that.
And I was talking with someone who said that his 9-year-old, who had done a very slapdash job of washing her hands and not long enough, now washes her hands in a way that she's ready for surgery.
So to be clear, Ellen is saving lives with her art.
Yes, she is. And here's Jody says she loves this, and our own Joe says I love spiders, and Geeta's watching from Memphis. So we're having this national conversation about your hand washing techniques, and this is really the first time in history that we can help save the human race by staying home, washing our hands, watching TV, but not everybody can do that, right? That's also part of the problem that we want to address. But can you talk about this process of deciding this and then selling it to these two folks at EHRP, and how you convince them that this is a good idea?
Right. Well, I let's see. I mean, as a cartoonist, coming up with metaphors and comparing things, taking something that's complicated and comparing it to something that's familiar. So like we all know, like the villain. This kind of position is hard, but like spiders and putting them together in certain ways. So that's something that I do in my storytelling already. So and then piecing it together as a story. I knew that it was something that we needed to wash our hands better, and then this great need that we all have right now, I think, we're feeling so helpless and trying to figure out what we can do. And is there anything that we can do? Is there anything that we can do better? And hand washing is one of them. So I pitched it to David and Alissa. I've known both of them now for years, and they loved it. And we talked about why it is that it's important. And one of the things for me, like I was saying, I don't know what I'm doing for an income. This is something that I can do, and so many people are in that boat of not really knowing what to do. It is also a message that clearly needed to be out there. That was when gig workers were just kind of there wasn't a whole lot of awareness about what was happening to our health insurance and income, and how is it that we were being expected to stay home when that immediately meant no income and possibly losing jobs. So there clearly needed to be some awareness about that. So I approached them about that, and we kind of came up with the angle that made sense together.
Thank you. And how many times have you been pitched a story involving spiders, David and Alissa?
Yeah, arachnophobia is not a big topic of at the Economic Hardship Reporting Project, but we're open to anything. Yeah,
and I want to say that you're getting some advice, Arlene. Don't touch your face. Love your earrings, by the way.
Right.
So there you go.
I washed my hands really, really well, but you're right.
Not touching your face is very hard for ethnic Americans, I have to say. It's like gesticulating, yeah. But no, one of the things that you're talking about, Ellen, is what I've been calling the coronavirus the COVID-19 catch-22, where people, they're either going to potentially put themselves at risk by going out of doors to get work, or they're going to stay indoors, unemployed, and be healthy, but yet their families and themselves, they're going to struggle. So I've been seeing more of this. I've been talking to more people who are in this position, right? And it's like a paradox. You're either squeezed physically or economically, and now sometimes both.
Right.
Yeah. Now let's bring in Joe, and Joe's a photographer here in New York. And Joe, can you tell us about the projects you're working on and how you came to work with the Economic Hardship Reporting Project?
We go back a ways. We covered Puerto Rico. Yeah.
I met you
extensively, and a couple of years back, and worked with the New York Times. I had a really good connection with an editor at the Sunday Review section, so that was working out well until they changed editors, and that kind of relationship shifted. I did talk to the editor last night, so we're trying to reformalize our connections, because I focused the last couple of years, and for a long time actually, about 25 years, on criminal justice issues. So most recently, we just did a story about a Los Angeles probation officer, where we were able to follow, along with Lauren Lee Wright. She was the reporter, and we followed a probation officer in real time, day to day, and dealing with the homeless population. We probably couldn't do that now, obviously. They're sweeping everybody off the street. So I was interested to see that side of criminal justice, and a story that I pitched to David and Alissa some time ago, and we finally got around to looking at this story, which just ran in the Guardian, I believe, in February. right now, gearing up to think about what other stories we want to look at California again, to see, to look at mothers and children, which about more about reentry and what that journey is like for a mother with children. The work is very personal to me because I grew up with that was in and out of prison and addiction and all these issues. So this is not just some photojournalistic story that I just throw out to the news media and with the help of EHRP, of course. So over the summer, I did a story with the Washington Post about someone coming out of prison who HIV positive, who just passed away from the virus just 2 weeks ago. That was very sad after doing 16 years. It's very complicated, criminal justice. A lot of people think they see it all and they see the news, and it's a life. You're dealing with a life. So I take a lot of time to do my stories as much as possible because I like to be intimate and really get a more in-depth story, whether it's a police officer or a probation officer or someone that's in prison, out of prison, addiction. And in terms of the issues of poverty, well, you know, I covered the housing foreclosure crisis in 2008 and very well throughout the state of California. And that took me about a month. I think stories like these used to be done for newspapers years ago. I think Alissa and David can speak loudly on that issue about how we used to do in-depth reporting. And I think it becomes even more important now than the quick minute, fast reporting of like a couple of days. So EHRP has been extremely important to help us along to do these important stories. And today we're just kind of closed in quarantine at NYU to just did a Zoom class. I'm doing a Zoom class tomorrow night with them, and you know, I'm passing on that tradition to them about being engaged with the public. But right now they can't do that, so they're kind of looking at their families and their homes and dealing with their journeys, and I think there's some good work coming out of them right now. So that's my major focus from day to day right now until this virus passes and we can move around and get out there. I think there's going to be an extremely amount of economic stories to be talked about, whether it's through stories like Alan and myself or through the people that are out here, because I think most Americans are living on credit, something we really don't kind of talk about a lot. You know, we're spenders. We're supposed to be spenders. We got to keep the economy going. And we all are feeling that strength. You know, I live in an area called Park Slope in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up here when it was a blue collar working class community where it was Italians and Irish and African American and Puerto Rican. And we all lived in this space together and we all worked hard and raised our families. But now I live on a millionaires row. We call it Park Avenue because I do have a lot of millionaires, but my block is almost very empty because they have options to leave and go to their country houses and deal with the virus that way. So it's very interesting to watch just from my window about how my little area has changed. And I know that I can hear the chatter from the street, what these folks talk about, not being able to work. And you're talking about finance people on Wall Street and worrying about their 401ks as they kind of slowly move downward. So these are very much the kinds of issues and stories that Economic Hardship Reporting Project kind of represents. And so we'll be looking at some more of those issues as time passes.
Sure. Thank you, Joe. Can you just very quickly tell us about just these 4 photographs? They were part of your story you did for The Guardian. They're stunning, they're striking, they grab your attention. Can you talk about them?
Well, like in many states, there's been a sort of a change in criminal justice by letting folks out of prison, because a lot of folks think that, oh, we're just, it's a good thing and it's great and we're going to move these folks towards the outside world, but parole is the ultimate shackles. I mean, the ultimate sort of handcuffs, and very much trying to get to that deep look into what happens to a person when they do come out of prison. All these folks that we're looking at here just came out of prison recently. Well, and some of them had mental health issues. Some wound up homeless. Some are struggling to try to keep their lives together. Some are struggling with their jobs, and if they make one little mistake, like, oh, I smoked marijuana or I drank a beer or something like that, and their urine analysis comes up in a positive light, and then they get flagged. So, in some cases, these guys can be thrown right back to prison, right? And then the cycle continues. So, parole and probation became something important for us to look at least from this point of view. It took a long time for us to set this up, and Lauren was really very important because she lives in Los Angeles, and I was working from here trying to set this up. So it took months in the planning to get to this story.
Well, thank you, Joe. A quick question from Arlene. She says, what cameras have you used and how difficult or easy was the transition from film to digital?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that all. What was that question?
The question was what kind of cameras are you using, and the transition from film to digital, how hard was it?
Oh, film to digital. Well, right now I'm not really shooting, so I've got digital cameras and I can shoot. Someone at my gallery in Germany asked me to make a little video, which I may, as soon as I get the strength, I will, about what I'm doing now and what the kind of work that I've been doing, continue to do. So I can shoot, but I'm just gonna have to put where you can get it processed. But the story you
so you're still doing
just
film
shared
that's cool.
was all shot on film. Yeah.
Wow, well, that's very cool.
So
folks, we're just about
I just wanted to say this one thing to our viewers. It's not really about the equipment or the platform you use, whether it's digital or whatever. I mean, it's really just about using whatever you can. And in Ellen's point, she can draw and look what she's been able to do. So this is fantastic. So people can shoot with their iPhone, as we all know. We can do things with even the iPad. So to go out there and tell a story. You don't have to go out and spend all this money on these expensive Japanese and German cameras to do this work.
I understand. Folks, we have about another 20-25 minutes left with this wonderful group of folks. Share your story. Please share this video right now if you haven't done that, or if you've already done it, tag a friend. There's somebody out there watching in your network who could benefit from hearing the story because they themselves are feeling the pinch, or there's someone who doesn't even know that there are some of these issues going on in America today because they're isolated, insulated. So please share on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Just go out and share this story, share this video. You can just go in and hit share or tag a friend. I just want to bring you folks some comments from LinkedIn. There's a whole bunch of them in LinkedIn. Anil says hello from Virginia Beach. Brooklyn says best wishes to everyone. Sage says hi. Kathleen is a New York City writer. Rachel is in Bloomington, Indiana, and she says, I'm feeling worried for my loved ones and all those suffering, but also honestly hopeful that more people will come out to value artists and creatives more as a result of this. Artists have historically provided hope and guidance in times of turmoil. Do you think this forced quarantine will help usher in the new creative economy? Let's go to you with that question, and then I'll ask the others. Go ahead.
Well, who knows? I mean, I think just like everyone, I hope. I mean, there's been more and more live streaming of art exhibits and theater, and I mean, and starting to be some sort of just maybe a little bit more of an expectation that maybe you PayPal or somehow pay at the end of it. So maybe there are some new revenue streams, but it's really hard to say because so many people are having a really hard time working now. I know that there are a lot of comics about things that you can do at home. There are things that people are having trouble doing at home. But I think that there's a real sense of everyone holding our breaths. Because, it's only now the end of the month. Now is when everyone's first round of rent is due. And so I think as we go on, there's going to be more and more of a sense of what are we going to do? And like how much food have we stocked? I think personally that art is one of the most important ways that we make sense of the world and that we can see things differently. The arts have also been kind of, like funding has really gotten cut a lot of places. It's popped up other places. I guess the answer to that is like, oh, I hope so.
I think the Trump administration will likely use this crisis to try and cut back things like the NEA and other federal supports, when we argue that there should be the opposite, that we should emulate the days of the Depression and the New Deal and form a new federal writers project and a federal artist project to provide meaningful work to journalists, artists, and writers who can bring a lot to the country. And in rebuilding the country, we shouldn't forget about art and artists.
That's great. How about you, Alissa? What do you think?
Well, I was just saying the other day that every apocalypse is both utopian and dystopian in its own way, right? Like, you looked at 2008 and people were all desperate, out of work, and then there was also Occupy with its side effects. Or 9/11, there's a new kind of levels of community and fellow feeling, and then there was the forever war. So I think what's going to happen next, if I'm going to predict anything, is we're going to have what's happening right now, like levels of isolation and stratification. Certain people are preppers or hiding out and isolating, then other people are recognizing our interdependence, and artists like Ellen and Joe are trying to represent that interdependence. And so I think, if anything, we're going to see, it sounds like I'm just splitting the difference, but I really do think like an explosion in both directions of people, students are rioting for no grades. We're probably going to get some version of coronavirus care for all just for this tragedy. Unfortunately, not Medicare for all. We're going to see rent deferrals. I think we're already getting there in New York. I hope, Ellen, that comes through for you in Seattle. And obviously eviction deferrals, mortgage payment deferrals for people earning under $75,000, et cetera. So that's happening. And then at the same time, you have, plutocrats stealing from us. You have surveillance going everywhere now, unchecked. You have people, great contract workers being tossed aside, Uber drivers dying. I was thinking of your work, Joe, about the taxi drivers when I saw their first Uber driver had died in New York. I don't know if you read that. But he died and he couldn't even see his family. So we're seeing that kind of stuff all at the same time. And one thing I'm wondering is, I guess this is a question for you guys, whether you think there's something to be said for us going indoors and being more insular for art. Like, it's kind of like a cliche, right? You go within. But part of what was happening a lot culturally was we were all going out, right? And it was this kind of span. And whether there is something to be said for kind of interior thought and rumination for developing your thoughts about what you want to do when you get out of this space, or what you want to do in the house. Like, do you want to draw things in your house or draw things through Zoom? Somebody's doing this really cool photo project involving Zoom meetings. I think there's strange kinds of imagination forming around this quarantine. And I'm curious about you guys, what kind of visual thoughts you're having around that.
Go ahead, Joe. Do you want us to take a stab at that?
Well, I think I caught some of it. Some of it was breaking up, but the isolation part, I guess I can speak to
Go
that.
ahead. Go ahead.
I've been working independently. I've been working independently since 1985. So, I mean, most of the projects that you see on my website were not assigned projects.
Mm-hmm.
They're mine. So from the very beginning to the very end, and I worked years on work, and I learned how to stretch a penny. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I know what, we have this beautiful word, this Yiddish word called a shekel, I mean, I know what a shekel is. I know what a penny is, okay? And I know how to stretch a penny. So, if I get $1,000 and I got to pay my rent and I got a couple $100 left over, so I'm eating rice and beans for the rest of the week, okay? So, I mean, I'm not exaggerating, folks. I mean, that's just normally the way I grew up. And, when I eat salmon, I eat salmon. When I got a 1993 Toyota Corolla outside, stick shift, right? Great on gas, And every time I go by in this neighborhood, because I got there's Teslas and there's all kinds of great cars here, and they look at my car and they go, I say, yeah, but I don't have any payments. I don't know the bank. So in terms of the economy, I think I've learned how to, through my mom, because we were poor when we grew up. And, I think very German, in a way like this. In Germany, they have credit cards, of course, everybody does, but they save to go on vacation. So we don't, I got family members that just go out and spend, and then now they're $30,000 in debt because they wanted it all, because Wayfair tells them, or the Food Network tells them, or they need to go out and eat. And now what I think is happening in America is this is a big, huge wake up about our expenditures and how we live. And so it's also being very zen in the way I wake up. I'm very mindful about the way I wake up. And I've got some issues. We talked about them before. And they're frightening, just like Ellen. I don't know about my rent. I'm still waiting to get paid on some story. So, it's the kind of stuff that bites, you bite your nails, and you hope that you have a loved one next to you that you can share your story with. And this is where things are a little bit challenging for a lot of us, especially if we're solo and alone. And the one great thing that I'm really sort of enjoying now, folks, and to all the viewers as well, and you know what it is? It's that. It's
Telephone,
not,
indeed.
yes. It's this. It's me seeing you. It's me being human. It's we being human. And I just, we just passed a stimulus package. You know what? All my friends from Sweden, I used to live in Stockholm, so I got this real connection to Sweden. My daughters are there. And so Scandinavia is, the area, the region of Europe I know very well. I got friends in Switzerland. And we just passed the most amazing socialism package. I mean, okay, it's not amazing, but this shift of like, oh my God, we have to help all the workers in the United States. I know it's long. I know it's not going to be enough. We're going to have to go back to it. And I know Pelosi tried to fight to get a better deal, and it's going to be more and more of that. But this is pretty radical stuff. I mean,
Amazon workers are on strike.
Especially for my age group.
So,
So Amazon workers are on strike. Instacart workers are on strike. Bus drivers are. I mean, this country stopped doing these kind of mass strikes, right? And I mean, if anybody's lived in Europe and England and France, there's like constant mass strikes. And I've always been like, where are the mass strikes? Well, now that we're going to have them, we're going to have, and we're going to have workers who realize that
we heard Joe Biden on Meet the Press this weekend, and I haven't heard this word in decades. You know what he mentioned? Unions. Mm-hmm. Workers' unions. Whoa! Oh my goodness gracious! We're maybe we'll start to the plight of the average worker in America. Is we all know quite well is we're always on the edge. We never know. We're sometimes just always the first to be fired. I mean, it's just so. I think we need some kind of, there's a change. I'm hoping that it kind of lasts. And, I know that we get into our worlds and then we get caught up, but, I don't think it's about politics. It's about us respecting United States citizens as people.
Let me ask you folks, we have a few minutes left. We've got also lots of questions and comments coming in, but I wanted to ask David, who has been studying the deals and act and all of that, that's trying to help folks. What are some good things you can say about the stimulus, and what are the problems in the stimulus?
The good thing I can say about the stimulus is that there'll be another stimulus.
Okay.
So I think that it's a half measure, like a lot of what we do in this country are half measures, temporary. It's not terrible because it's for the first time, I believe, really opens up unemployment for gig workers and independent contractors. And I would encourage everyone out there today who's lost some money because of COVID-19 to really study that bill and spend some time with that bill. It's a big one. It's many, many pages. I'm just, doing a little bit of it. But if you spend some time, you may find opportunities. So I'll give you some that I've noticed, which is that if you're a small business owner and you've been impacted by COVID-19 and lost some business, you may have, even a small business owner may have an opportunity to get a forgivable loan. And they may have some of their existing loans put on pause. So there are real opportunities if you study. We sometimes are afraid of paperwork. I, for instance, know many writers who won't read the contracts that publications ask them to sign and that take all their rights. And I always say, read your goddamn contracts, folks. And so read the goddamn bill, folks. It's got opportunities for you.
Yeah.
And just to join in at that, there are resources. Here in Seattle, there's Artist Trust. ArtistTrust.org has a page of resources. And a lot of them are for Washington, but a lot of them are national as well. The isolating thing can be really great for creativity. I'm really fond, I get a lot of work done in residencies, but as someone who, so much of my work is around mental health, and I have bipolar myself, and a lot of it is around that. The whole isolating is really, really difficult. And so working right now is also really, really difficult. I just kind of wanted to put out there that there are resources and that it's not an end of reaching out to each other, and that actually it's getting support from each other in a different way, and hang in there.
211.org, right, Sree?
Yeah, 211.org has a lot of
clearinghouse of information for people.
Yeah. And
are you going to maybe list resources somewhere? Do you have?
Yeah, I mean, we people do tweet them out when we send them, but I think you go to 211.org, you go to the United Way, and then we should also talk a little bit more about EHRP and how you can help EHRP help people. One is to go and donate. And also, if you know any struggling writers or you have a story idea, pitch it to these folks by going to economichardship.org, and you can see on the screen here all these folks' information.
Yeah.
Ellen,
You can also follow us on Twitter at econhardship, at econhardship.
right.
And we're looking specifically for coronavirus themed stories around the economic intersection of coronavirus. I'm seeing on the side here all the people from the live comments. Some of them are writers, I think. I think it's Valerie Steckler, who I used to know. She's an editor. She sounds very familiar to me. So all you guys, if you're freelancers or your work is drying up, you should consider sending.
We're laid off staffers too.
Yeah.
We're here to help.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to give you each a final thought, and then we'll let you go back to your evenings and late afternoons out in Seattle. So let's start with Ellen Forney, who joined us from Seattle. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your enthusiasm for your art and your work. It's really so special that you could be here with us. We're very grateful to you, Ellen. Please give us your final thoughts for now.
I guess everyone hang in there and wash your hands and be well. Be well. I didn't just hit my face when I did that.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ellen. We'll see you again, I hope. Thank you. All right, let's go now to Joe Rodriguez, great photographer who is joining us from New York. And I've got to say, Joe, on this show, I've been doing it for 18 days. You're the first person who has mild symptoms and is on the show. We're grateful to you for being here, but we also wish you the very best as you fight this
my
just
pleasure.
after surgery too. Not easy. Please go ahead. Some final thoughts from you.
Just, I'm reading this old book called The Majesty of Calmness. And this is keeping me very, very, very clear. It's a very inexpensive book. You can actually get a PDF. I actually ordered it from Walmart. I don't like to buy stuff from Amazon anymore.
Wait, so Walmart is okay, Joe?
In the early 1900s. Sorry?
No, it's surprising to hear someone praise Walmart when you're. So I guess it's because they've raised their minimum wage and things like that, right?
Right. Yes, they have. But I mean, it's really about. We're listen, folks. Honestly, I love America. I love everybody. It's not about politics or race or gender or whatever. I mean, you just look and see what's going on in the refugee camps. My wife is from Lebanon, all right, and so what's going on there is extremely different than what's going on here. We have the medical care in America. We're going to get through this stuff. We went through the Spanish flu. My grandparents went through the Spanish flu, when there was nothing but soap and hot water. That was it, and rah, rah, rah for the women at that time, because they were knocked on every damn door in New York to make sure that we were, if we were sick, we got healthy. And, a lot of big things came out of that time. But here, we're still kind of fortunate that we can get to a hospital, that we can get to some of the medical care and important medical care. It's so where I look to give me that strength, and it's hard to look at, but the Rohingya people are going through stuff. The Syrians are going through horrible stuff. India is like in a chaos right now, right? Pakistan is where I've been, is just, there's just a lot harder situations out there. And that's what, for me, my photography has always been about. All right, let's show the issues that maybe we can reflect on and hopefully change some of those issues. But that is the American social documentary platform. It goes way back to the early 1900s.
And honestly,
so yes.
Yeah, what I was going to say, this is my final thought too. First of all, somebody is commenting that this is Joe Rodriguez who did Albaria, and it is indeed the Joe Rodriguez. It's really phenomenal. He did a book called Taxi when he was a taxi driver, where he shot through his window.
It's coming out soon. It's forthcoming.
In the 80s, and
it's kind of been delayed, Alissa, because of it's printed in China. So it's going to be a while, but I was a taxi driver from 1997 to 1987. Those were tough years in New York, and so I got to see to work in a lot of sort of areas where the gay population were frequenting all night long, and HIV just popped up, but there's a lot of humanity. There's all 5 boroughs. There's there's an old couple that were married for 40 years that I was always perplexed with. How do you stay married for 40 years? Let me give you a funny story. How do you stay married for 40 years?
Quarantine together.
And they said to me, well, you got to get used to this person, and he sleeps and he has gas, and this person snores, but they're still together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, laugh. I mean, laughing is part of our life. So
it's just true. It's just true.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So what he did amazing work, and that's part of what I hope we can get across at EHRP is that we're supporting people like Joe, who is an artist and a documentarian, and that combination, he really gets at the heart of human experience. And but I guess my final thought is sort of akin to yours, Joe, in that sense that I think we were living in this kind of vacuum-packed post-modernity where we thought we were safe. And people like my grandparents who lived through the Holocaust and lived through the Spanish flu and all these other things, they knew better, and we sort of forgot what we knew. If we knew now what we knew then. And I think the level of chance and fear, this is beyond politics, right? We're not insulated anymore. We can't lie to ourselves about how much, vicissitudes change our lifetime and our experience and even our ability to survive. So I think that's been a sort of recognition for a lot of people, and I hope it leads to us taking better care of each other. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And that's Alissa Quart, List Quart on Twitter, LISQUART. Please follow her. And she is with the Economic Hardship Reporting Project at Econ Hardship and economichardship.org. Thank you for all you do, Alissa, and thank you for being with us here today.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
See you later. Bye-bye. And David will give you a final set of thoughts. And thank you, Joe.
I would say that take a moment as you have a lot of time right now, probably take a moment and be thankful for the little things. Try and enjoy the little things. Your kid who doesn't have to get up at 7 anymore, but can sleep till 8 to go to school, which is in the living room. And I've never been a proponent of homeschooling, and I'm not now. But having that extra hour with him is a small blessing. And so I feel that I can encourage people to take a moment and to feel fortunate if they can.
Thank you. I absolutely feel the same way, David. And I'm just showing on screen this really sad story about this photograph of an Arkansas doctor looking through a glass door to see his 1-year-old son crawl for the first time. And then 3 days later, their family's home was destroyed by a tornado in Jonesboro. Like, just imagine their situation. And then some of us are complaining about being stuck at home with our kids. And I mean, just absolutely devastating story.
I think that being at home with your family is a chance to reconnect, and sometimes we forget that.
No, absolutely, and you're right. And Joe has put in a comment: reading our American history has been helpful to reflect on our present times. I think that's really, really important. There was a question, David, before you go. Arlene says, how does someone who's out of work, does not speak English, has no access to resources, navigate this whole situation of economic hardship at the moment? What can people do? What do you tell folks who need help?
When we do these stories, and we do a variety of stories, we'll get over the transom requests that are unrelated to journalism. So the other day I got a request from someone who had a family member in Delray Beach, and I don't think they were English speakers, native English speakers, but the internet is powerful. And I remember when we didn't have fax machines. I remember the fax machine being this phenomenal, monumental invention, because we no longer had to use messengers to do transmission of documents and signatures, and we could fax them. I mean, it was like crazy. And now we have libraries, the most powerful library ever imagined by man, and communication devices. And so we managed to find, with a couple of clicks, I managed to find the potential for food delivery for their father who was in Delray in South Florida. So all I can say is that, help someone if they don't speak English very well. try and reach out and help them use the internet. That's what we can do with, maybe we can use Google Translate, or maybe there's ways, but with a few clicks, we can often get help.
Thank you, David. And that's David R. Wallis, Wallis, of the Economic Hardship Reporting Project. Thank you for all you're doing. And we'll direct everybody again to @EconHardship, follow them, and also go to economichardship.org. If you know any writers, photographers, videographers who have stories they want to tell about the crisis, they can apply for support for a project, and they can also, and if you have resources, you can donate by going to their website at economichardship.org. Thank you very much, David, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye. And folks, thank you so much. That brings us to the end of another COVID-19 call. The hashtag is Sree COVID-19 call. And I do this every day. It's the 18th show in a row, 18th day in a row, 18th day of the lockup. My plan is to do this as long as I can, as long as this exists in New York as a lockdown, and as long as I don't get sick, holding really good thoughts for all of you, your health, your safety. Thank you so much for watching. Please share your comments right now. You can go in and message me. I'm sree@sree.net, sree@sree.net. We'd love to get your feedback. Please follow me on Twitter and also subscribe to me on YouTube. And as soon as the show is over, it'll restart and play on whatever platform you're on. We have viewers right now joining us from from Taiwan and from Australia. Thank you so much for being here. We're all learning together and we're all struggling together. And I benefit greatly from these conversations. We'll have another great show tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday, Friday. Every day we'll be here for you. sree@sree.net is my email. Please do connect. Thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.